Hello, my name is Aidan Coots, and this is my assignment 1 for coaching. To start with, we're going to be talking about role models. A role model is someone who you aspire and look up to be. This is important when you first start off, say if you're new to a sport at a foundation level, you need someone who motivates you and who you look up to succeed. My example of this is Dorian Yates. This is because he managed to train for only 7 years and became 6-time Mr. Olympia at that time. This is something that no one else has done so far, and a lot of other starting off bodybuilders tend to look up to this sort of person. As you get more experienced, you tend to not need a role model as such because you are then your own motivation. Next is my innovator. This is someone who comes up with new training methods or ideas. This can help improve your performance in any type of sport. My example of this is Charles Glass. His training methods are suited to each individual, so he never just does one thing for every person he sees. He assesses their strengths and weaknesses and uses unorthodox activities and exercises to help improve different athletes. Next, for a friend, this is someone who can support you in times of need and will always support you. My example of this is Ash Clifford. In tough times, everyone needs a friend they can go to for help, whether it be in personal life or if you are an athlete as well. Everyone just needs that bit of extra positive encouragement from people that you know and you're close to. Next is a manager. For this, I've picked Arsene Wenger because this is a person who is in charge of a group of people or a task and organises manpower to get things done. I chose Arsene Wenger because he is one of the best football managers there are, up there with Sir Alex Ferguson. He's proved to be a good manager over the years because Arsenal have always stayed roughly in the top 4. They've never sunk down such as when Man United did. Next is a motivator. This is a person who can make you want to do better and improve your life and beat targets and help succeed and reach your aspirations. For this, I've chose Carl Hodge, who I train sometimes with at the gym. Always push me as hard as he pushed himself. Because he saw that I have the same goals as he did. Next is a trainer, educator, instructor. For this, I've chosen Dan French, another guy at the gym, because he's taught me different training methods and different ways to do things to get better results. So he's shown me to change my form, sort of rep tempos, different training methods, and I've got results out of this. So he's also shown me the practical reason how to do things, but he's also told me the theory behind this as well. Next, responsibilities of a coach. Responsibilities of a coach are that everyone needs to be involved in order for it to be fair, despite what race or religion they might be, or even age and abilities. A coach also needs to be using the correct language and not swearing at the other players, as this can bring everyone down and make them feel more negative. This can also affect how players speak as well, because they will start to use the same language as the coach because they think it is okay to do so. A coach should encourage their sessions by making people want to train. This can be done by making sure everyone is progressing and having fun. Everyone should feel like part of a team and could even come just for the social aspect of it. If you had a few players that speak very little English, then your coach would either get a translator in order to progress in their sessions, or the coach themselves would learn their chosen language so they can succeed as a team. Next, a coach having more knowledge means that the session could become more productive. This can have an impact on players because if there is bad weather outside and it's raining too hard, then the coach will bring them inside and adapt their sessions. Also, if a coach has more knowledge of coaching, then they're going to be getting better quality time out of their sessions and using their time most effectively, as opposed to a coach who may be just level 3 coach who's never been to university, as opposed to someone who is level 4 or 5 and above. Next is professional behaviour. A coach always needs to act differently as part of the football team. They can't just act like the other players. This is important because they need to be a good role model. They need to stand out. This will affect their performance by, if you see a coach that's more professional, you're going to put more in. You're going to put more effort in because you can see the coaches trying hard to help you succeed. Next is health and safety. Health and safety is a big responsibility of a coach because they need to make sure everyone who is in that session is safe. This could be anything from kayaking to rock climbing to football to tennis. All risk assessments have to be done. Then they tend to be sent off to another person to double check them to make sure that is all right. The coach also needs, for that session, needs to make sure that anyone who has any prior medical conditions or any injuries states it at the start of the session, so no one is put in danger. Also, the coach who's done risk assessments needs to make sure that wherever the session is being taught is safe. So, for example, in a sports hall, there's no water that you could slip over, or if you're doing sort of different activities such as a shooting drill, that no one's in the way of the ball apart from the goalkeeper. Otherwise, this can just lead to silly injuries that don't need to happen. The consequence of not being aware of health and safety means your players can get injured or people in your team can be injured. This means that they're not going to be performing as well and progressing as fast as they should be, just because a little bit of health and safety and no one took much care in it as they should have done. Next is legal obligations. Next, an example of this is their insurance. So if you had a trampoline instructor who was, say, a level 2, and they were teaching skills that were way above that level, sort of 3 and 4, and someone broke their neck, then they would not be insured by their national governing body and would probably end up going to court. Another example is you must have the coaching level that you are coaching, such as in football. They also need a pro license as well to become a Premier League manager. And they also have legal obligation to look after you whilst they're under their care, especially if they are under 18. Next is skills of a coach. Time management. A coach needs to have good time management because you don't want to spend too long on a skill, but you also don't want to spend such little time on a skill that no one understands how it can help them in a game. So you don't want to spend, for an example, 30 minutes practicing short passing, but you also don't want to spend 3 minutes on it and no one pick up the hang of it and actually progress in that skill. They also need to, for time management, it's not just the sessions, but how long they're training for in weeks. So they need to make sure that they don't go over time on some skills as the weeks go on. For their long-term and short-term goals, the coach needs to make sure that they're achievable and that the players are moving in the right direction in order to achieve their short-term goals, but their long-term goals as well. Next is organisation. This is big for a coach or a manager because they need to make sure that their session is completely organised, all the equipment's there, that they're ready to go off, and that they've got enough players and staff in order to put the session on. An example of this is making sure you've got all your goalposts, your bibs, and footballs out ready to do football, or if you're doing rugby, you get the rugby balls out. Pretty much the same for every other sport, really. This will affect the performance of the team by making them want to do the sport you're doing. So if you haven't got everything organised, and everyone's going to be standing around bored and they're not going to have a great deal of respect for you. Next is communication. There are different types of communication. You have verbal, non-verbal, kinesthetic, and visual. An example of this is you must, as a coach, use as many different types of communication as you can in order for everyone to learn, because that's how people learn best. So you need to demonstrate the skill, which will be visual, and then you need to explain the skill, which would be verbal. Then kinesthetic is watching people watching you do the skill as well. Next one is effective techniques. This will help you as a coach teach your team, because you need to break them down into certain steps in order for people to learn. So you need to explain, demonstrate, imitate it, and then make them practice it. So for example, you could, if you're doing shooting, you would break the skill down into certain different parts. So you would start off with bringing your leg behind you, following through, keeping your head over the ball, making sure you're looking to where you're shooting at, and then you do the skill all as one and get them to practice it. You could do it as any other skill, and this just helps people to learn faster. An example of this is Jay Mills doing basketball. When we were doing practical team, every time we learned a new skill, we broke it down into certain steps. We did each step, and then we did the skill as a whole, and then we practiced that skill from there on. Thank you very much for listening, and this is my PowerPoint for coaching assignment 1.